Who was Jesus really? And why have we never been told his true story? Do you also feel a personal connection to Jesus? Not the one from church, not the one from the old stories, but something you feel when you hear his name. A vibration, a light, a memory that resonates deep inside of you, an opening of your heart, even if you cannot put it into words. And maybe now, right now, his true story is becoming more important for all of us, more important than ever before. Today I will speak about the Jesus I have met many times as a medium on a spiritual level, and you can simply feel for yourself if what I share resonates with you or not. Maybe you have already heard stories that there were many years in his life that were never recorded. The years between his childhood, around the age of 12, and the time when he appeared in public, around the age of 30. Between the childhood of Jesus and his public mission, there is almost 20 years of silence. The official texts say almost nothing about this period, but these years were essential. They were a time of deep inner and outer preparation for a mission he had chosen long before he was born. Jesus was not only just gifted, he came into this life with a very specific quality, also on a genetic level. The so-called virgin birth is often interpreted symbolically, but it points to a very conscious and guided incarnation process. Jesus was a highly developed soul from the very beginning. Highly evolved beings of light were directly involved in his arrival. They protected his DNA and kept his frequency at an unusually high level. The term virgin birth is meant quite literally in his case. It was a conscious energetic implantation. It was done through energy, not through a physical act. This made it possible for a great soul to enter a physical body that had been carefully prepared for this purpose. I have personally encountered Jesus as a medium at different stages of my life, and each time it was a deeply moving and powerful experience. It began in my youth, and later, especially during difficult times as a young mother, when I was under pressure and often felt completely hopeless. My heart was so heavy, and the emotional pain was almost too much to carry. These encounters with Jesus often happened at night, half in a dream, half awake, and they were deeply healing for me. They helped me to cope with everyday life, to find inner stability again, and to rebuild my energy from within. Later, I met Jesus again, this time in a Buddhist monastery in Tibet. It was a vision that felt very real. By then, my mediumistic abilities had opened further, and I was able to see him with my physical eyes, walking through the room in golden light. His presence was silent, powerful, and full of grace. It left a deep imprint in my entire system. And years later, I also realized this special connection between Jesus and Babaji. I have a picture of Babaji in my bedroom. because I feel his presence, his enormous energy and his healing ability. Babaji is an immortal ascended master, you might know, and mainly in the Indian tradition. And he is known as a guardian of pure consciousness, beyond religion, timeless and full of light. And one morning, shortly after waking up, Babaji spoke to me, and in that moment I knew with certainty that there is a special connection between him and Jesus. They carry the same light signature. They both touch the heart deeply if you are ready to open it, to compassion, to healing, to the truth of your human journey. In that moment I felt deep joy, because without knowing it, I had brought the path of these two great masters together in my heart. But as so often in life, there are no coincidences. This is why I'm sure today Jesus had access to these teachings. Not only in Tibet, India and Egypt were also important places on his journey. Not places where he was taught, but places where he remembered. He became familiar with teachings about eternal life, the universal energetic laws, and fields of consciousness about healing through frequency, and the ability not only to speak words, but to transmit energy with every word. That made him so special later as a teacher, because the people felt what happens to them when they are in contact with his energy. Something begins to change, something begins to heal. And this direct experience of his energy is also possible if you connect on a higher level with his energy. And these mysteries remain hidden from most people for a lifetime. Not because they are unreachable, but because many block themselves so deeply that they can no longer feel the truth within. It is not the truth that is missing, it is the access to their own true essence. And in one of my last videos about Avalon, I spoke about Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and check this video out. Anna was a highly developed and wise woman. She played a central role in the shaping of Jesus during his early years. She prepared him, not outwardly but inwardly. She guided him into the depth of his soul mission and supported him energetically for the journey ahead. And yes, Jesus came to earth with a special genetic design. But he was not the only one. He was one of the awakened ones, one of many, who appear across ages and places, not to save us, but to lead us back to what we already are, to our dignity, to our truth, to our own light. Jesus did not carry his message alone. He was not the one above all others. He was the one who activated others, who helped them see what was already within themselves. His disciples were not in a form students in the traditional sense. They were also carriers of frequency, who had begun to remember themselves, because in Jesus' presence, they could feel their own core. And among them was one who was not only close to him, but who embodied the feminine side of his frequency, Maria Magdalene. She was equal in the light. What was later silenced, distorted, or devalued was nothing less than the feminine Christ line. Mary Magdalene carried a part of his soul mission, not only as a companion, but as a full and equal bearer of the frequency of the feminine Christ energy. She was a twin soul of Jesus. Her work made everything complete. She held the inner side of his message, the silent power, the direct transmission through the heart, the dimension of receiving, of embodiment, of integration. Her role was never that of a sinner. That was the invention of a system that feared what she radiated: independence, female power, heart power, truth. And she carried his child. Maria Magdalene was pregnant when Jesus was crucified. The daughter she gave birth to after his death was called Sarah, a name that means princess, and continued the sacred bloodline. This truth was hidden for centuries, but it still lives on in many spiritual traditions. Many of these traditions say that Mary Magdalene fled with her daughter to the south of France, to a place where they lived in secret, protected from persecution and misunderstanding. To this day, the Church of Sainte Marie de la Mer remembers this story. There, not only Maria Magdalene is honored, but also Saint Sarah, the Black Madonna, who is seen by many as the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Each year she is celebrated in a great procession as a silent bearer of the truth that was never officially recognized, but continues to live on in many hearts. In the region around Provence, there are many signs, legends, and sacred places that testify to their presence. Sarah grew up protected by this land and was guided by her mother in the teachings of love and healing. She continued the work of her parents, quietly but powerfully, not in public, but within the hearts that were ready to listen. Her presence reminds us that the Christ energy is not passed on through titles, but through lived experience and inner transformation. Mary Magdalene and Sarah, their energy, their work is a call to all of us, a call to remember and reintegrate the forgotten aspects of our spiritual history and our spiritual journey. Now it is time to honor the feminine wisdom and to restore divine balance within ourselves. The crucifixion of Jesus was not the end, it was a transition, a consciously chosen moment to open a new level of service. Yes, Jesus died on the cross. That is part of the historical records. But what happened after that is just as real and even more important. His resurrection was not symbolic. It was a shift into another level of being, a transformation into his radiant astral body, and we all will do this after our death, through which he appeared to his companions, visible, tangible, and full of presence. These encounters were a powerful initiation. They opened the hearts and minds of his disciples to what was truly alive within all of us, and what he also passed on each of us: the Christ consciousness, the love without conditions. He did not return to be human again. He came to remind us the Christ energy lives in each one of us. This is a living light that wants to move through you. We all carry this immortality within us, and most of all, the ability to heal through consciousness, through the heart, through connection. Jesus did not want followers. He wanted people who recognize that they too carry the divine light within. His message was clear: you will do greater works than I. He did not come to be worshipped. He came to show us what becomes possible when we remember our true nature. The Christ energy is not a distant ideal. It lives within us. And the return of Christ is not a future event. It happens in the very moment you recognize your divine essence. It is not about waiting. It is about lighting this flame within and acting as a conscious creator of your life. You are here to awaken the Jesus within you, to bring compassion into your life, healing, appreciation for the light that every human being is and carries inside. Today, the world is full of judgment, division, and conflict. But you are here to remember your light, not as a concept, but through embodiment. You are here to bring the legacy of Jesus and Mary Magdalene to live within yourself, not as a story, but as a frequency. It is the promise that lives in your DNA, in your cells, in your soul. The time to remember your Christ frequency is now, not someday, not when you think you are ready, but it is this very moment when you start to open your heart, to this sacred energy of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. They want this energy to express itself through you, freely, truthfully, and fully embodied. And maybe you ask yourself, why is no one talking about this? Why has this true story been erased from the books, from the teachings, from our collective memory? Because a free human being who remembers their divine inheritance can no longer be controlled. Because a woman like Mary Magdalene, standing fully in her power, was too dangerous for a world that wanted to dominate the feminine and to control humans. And because the blood of those who carry the light still flows through us today, not only biologically but energetically. The bloodline was never just a line of the body, it is a line of consciousness. And it does not end in the past, it lives in you. And now it is time to remember, the frequency on earth is rising. The collective field is opening. What was once available to only a few can now be felt by many. Healing through vibration, connection through the heart, truth beyond words. If you're ready to remember, then the true story is beginning to become alive in you again, through you. Share this important video and do never forget, I love you.